The volume is very low. Cannot hear you there, President.
You're not hearing me? My volume is up to all. I'll try and project some more. How is that?
Same.
It's the same. Okay, I don't know what to do here. My volume is on and it's up to all. I didn't have any concerns raised the previous nights, so I'm not
Yeah,
sure.
very faint in the background. Very, very faint.
Okay, I'll take off my. Well, thanks for giving me that audio check. How are we doing? No better?
Yes, yes.
Okay. All right. Good evening to you, men, brothers and sisters, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the third session in our annual leadership conference here, Caribbean Nazarene College, otherwise known as CNC. We are so glad, so excited to have you. This is our third session. As I've said, we opened with our Thanksgiving service. And then last night, Tuesday, we had a tremendous time together in our panel discussion as we looked at the pandemic, the parishioner, and progress or progression. How are we doing and what can we do in light of the pandemic? And this evening, we propose to have some more practical guidelines and advice and information pertaining to managing our finances at the personal level and at the church level. And I believe that our resource person, who will be introduced a little later, will have a whole wealth of information for us. As you know, CNC is celebrating its 70th anniversary, and we continue to offer quality, holistic higher education in a Christian environment. Many of us are graduates of the school, either the residential program or the distance learning program. You're all graduates of CNC or friends of CNC, and we are so glad and excited to have you. I want you to continue to celebrate with us this journey because we have full accreditation with the Accreditation Council of Trinidad and Tobago. And unlike some institutions that only have academic accreditation, we have what is called institutional accreditation. So that's the highest level, and we are very grateful for that. And we are working assiduously to maintain that. This June, we'll have our midterm review for the second 5-year period of accreditation. We want to do our best to ensure that we pass that test. We have our full term before us, and Lord willing, we'll qualify for another 5-year or even a 7-year interval at our next accreditation period. You can help us by continuing to pray for us. You can help us by doing some continuing education, provided you've already graduated. And if you've not yet graduated from our course of study with us, you can enroll. We want to remind you that we offer degrees up to the master's level in social work and in sociology and in counseling psychology. We want you to also know that we offer undergraduate degrees, 6 of them, and we offer diplomas, we offer certificates. What is also very important is that you don't have to pursue a degree program, especially if you already have one or even a master's degree, but you want to do some professional enhancement courses. Feel free to take a single course with us and continue to enhance and embellish what you already have. So you could help us, you could support us by subscribing to some of the programs that we do have available to you. The Master's in Psychology and Counseling, the Master's in Social Work. We have a Bachelor in Theology and one in General Studies, where you could do HR Management, Psychology and Counseling, Early Childhood Care and Education, and a whole slew of courses that you could select right there. We have a Bachelor in Education with special emphasis in religious education that will qualify you to teach in the school system. And we have our Bachelor in Social Work as well. So all of this information is on our website. And so I will not take a lot of our time this evening going through all of the courses. But I just wanted to remind you and sensitize you that our college is at a very challenging time. As we look at the pandemic, as the government of Trinidad and Tobago has made some significant adjustments in its GATE program. The GATE program is that program through which they fund all Trinidadians who are pursuing higher level education. And with immediate effect, they're no longer subsidizing, no longer paying for those who are doing a master's degree. And our master's degree is our flagship. All right. And if you already have a first degree, they are not going to sponsor you for a first degree. So the government is having its own financial challenges, and therefore they are controlling their expenditures, and all the schools, all the universities are feeling the pinch. But you could appreciate that those of us who are smaller will feel it even more. So we need your help. We thank you for your monetary gifts as district leaders, and some of you as individuals. We thank you for that. We thank you for your prayers. We thank you for your words of encouragement. If there's any way
Gabby, can't talk.
if, if
Can't
there's
talk.
any way you could do a little more to help us, if you could give us a one-off monetary gift, we'll appreciate that. If you could do a monthly subscription, we'll appreciate that. If you could get a student, encourage someone who really wants to answer God's call upon their life, and you're willing to sponsor them or sponsor them, we'll appreciate that. It will be an investment, not just in the Church of the Nazarene and in Caribbean Nazarene College. Really and truly, it will be an investment in the kingdom of God. So pray about it, think about it, but most of all, we want for you to act. So I'm making no secret of it that we need your help. We need your financial help. We need your encouragement. You need your ideas. We are determined that we're going to fulfill God's will for our lives and through this college. So let me share with you two verses of scripture in preparation for presentation this evening, taken from Deuteronomy chapter 8, verses 17 and 18. I'm just reading, I'm not exhorting. The Lord says to Israel and to us, you may say to yourself, my power and the strength of my hands have produced this wealth for me. But remember the Lord your God, for it is he who gives you the ability to produce wealth, and so confirms his covenant, which he swore to your fathers as it is today. It is God who gives you the ability and gives you the ideas to create wealth. And we look forward to how the Lord will share with us this evening through our resource person. So it's great to have you in the house. May the Lord bless you, and may the Lord bless our fellowship together in Jesus' name. Our moderator for this evening is the esteemed Reverend Dr. Samuel Elcock, the senior pastor of the Church of the Nazarene Ruby in Barbados. We are pleased to have Dr. Elcock with us. He's been championing the cause of the Leadership Conference now for several years from the Barbados leg of things, and we appreciate his commitment, his loyalty to the school, and we continue to wish him well, his family well, and his ministry well. Dr. Elcock, it's now over to you, sir. God bless.
Thank you so very much, Mr. President. And it is certainly a joy for me to be with you tonight. I am sure that those of you who were with us for the last two nights, as Dr. Seed would have already insinuated, I'm sure that you would have thoroughly enjoyed those sessions. Last night, you would have heard from the panelists where they shared with us particularly things as it relates to prosperity. They looked at the church, and I'm sure that you would have had quite a lot to chew on last night. Tonight is no exception, and I really want to welcome all of you from across the region. I don't really want to be biased tonight, but I really want to welcome my friend and colleague, Brother Patrick Alfred. He is from Canada. He's in Canada, a real member of the Ruby Church of the Nazarene, I should say, because whenever he's in Barbados, he is with us. From Canada, Patrick, I wish you well, you and your wife and all the other members of your family, and those of you from across the region, welcome. Tonight is the final night, I would say, in this particular series of services. I'm sure the President would inform us not too long from now what are the other plans for this 70th anniversary because for those of you who are not aware, we are celebrating 70 years at CNC, and God has been good to us and continues to be good to us. We really want for you to get familiar with the college. Those of us who are sensing the call of God in your life, I want to encourage you to fulfill that call. It is my distinct honor tonight to introduce a very fine gentleman who is very familiar to me, and I'm sure in a very short way he's going to be familiar to all of us. Mr. Marlon Yard. And I'm sure that I will not want you to again think that I'm biased, but apart from being a member of the Church of the Nazarene, apart from being on the finance committee, I am proud to say he is a member of the Ruby Church of the Nazarene. So I just needed for you to hear that. Now, Mr. Marlon E. Yard, JP, FCPA, FCA, LLB with honors, LLM, FCIS. That almost take up a whole page. Marlon E. Yard has been with the Barbados Stock Exchange, Inc., BSE, and its subsidiary, the Barbados Central Security Depository, Inc., BCSDI, since November the 1st, 2003. Now that's a very long time. He currently holds the position of Managing Director of the Barbados Stock Exchange, BCSDI. Mr. Yard has played a key role in many of the significant developments at BSE over his 17+ year tenure, including the BSE, the mutualization and the launch of the international securities market. Mr. Yard, a chartered accountant, and his professional qualifications being a fellow. I tell you here, suppose a fellow, that is not easy to get. A fellow of the Chartered Professional Accountants Association of Canada. That is a mouthful as well. And a fellow of the Institute of Chartered Accountants of Barbados. He's also a chartered governance professional holding a fellowship designation from the Institute of Chartered Securities and Administrators in Canada. In addition to that, Mr. Yard holds a Bachelor of Law degree from the University of Huddersfield in the UK and a Master of Law degree specializing in security law. And I hope I got this word correctly, Mr. Yard, or school law through that, whatever it is you would explain. This comes from Hall Law of, let me read again, the Osgood Hall Law School of York University in Toronto, Canada. Mr. Yard is currently, with all of those things behind his name, he is currently pursuing the Chartered Institute Arbitrary designation. With all of those things behind his name, you would obviously know that he is not a walkover. It is my distinct honor to introduce this gentleman to you. And he is going to share with us tonight practical nurture of finances. It is my distinct honor, sir, to introduce you to these fine persons who are from across the Caribbean. Welcome. God bless you. As you share with us tonight. Over to you, Mr. Yard.
Good night, Pastor Alcott. Good night to one and
Thank
all.
you.
It is indeed a pleasure to be here this evening. I want to thank the organizers of this event, particularly Reverend Seal, who called me and asked me to participate and be part of this event. I want to thank him. I want to thank all the organizers. I want to thank my pastor for giving me this opportunity as well. So good night. First, let me congratulate the CNC Caribbean Nazarene College on its 70th anniversary, it has reached 70 with God's help. We therefore recognize and acknowledge that it has been responsible for shaping 2 to 3 generations. And according to Wikipedia's definition of generation, which states that a generation is all the people born and living at or about the same time, regarded collectively. They also describe it as the average period generally considered to be about 20 to 30 years, during which children are born and grow up, become adults, and begin to have children. By children of the 3rd generation in train, that it has great responsibility. So what is your report for your stewardship, great granddaddy, CNC? I'm sure that your children will give you a good report. Therefore, when I think of the practical nature of finances I have been asked to share on tonight, I immediately think of generational wealth, because the more you think about your own financial life, the more you realize how important generational wealth can be. Do you know what the Bible says about generational wealth? Let us look at Proverbs 13:22, and it says, "A good man leaves an inheritance to his children's children." Notice how it did not stop at children, but goes on to the next generation, your children's children. Now, this topic of generational wealth would take longer than I have to really explore and explain. I am going to try to bring out the essence of it in broad terms and practically as I can. I may even get a little personal at times, as I know you that as I show you that it works, and as a people, we should endorse it in any little way that we can. Now, don't be scared. I believe that not many of us in attendance has $10 million to leave for our children or our grandchildren. But there's a lot more to generational wealth than money. And I will show you as we continue. So stay with me. I will be as practical as I can be and look at where we are now and where we are headed. So right now, creating generational wealth might not be on your immediate list of priorities. Understood? So let's look at where we are right now and then move from there. You want to get out of debt. You might want to continue to educate yourself. You want to pay off student loans. You want to purchase a piece of land. You need a mortgage to build your own home or your first home. You're about to retire and you're worried that you do not have enough to live on. And the list goes on in your mind. On and on it goes. So the question is, the question consuming you is, how do I meet my financial goals right now? I feel I cannot catch a break. I cannot get a start. Well, let's start with a habit. Robert Kiyosaki puts it this way: put aside $1 a day, every day. That is $30 or $31 a month. He said you must put it aside every day, not at the end of the month, but every day. Every day at the end of the month, what does it matter? You may ask. It matters because change is never easy, and so we have to build new habits. We can only master a habit by doing it over and over with great consistency. So when we have become comfortable with saving $1, we then can start putting aside $2, $5, $10, $1,000 a day. Robert, he is now at $100,000 a day, but he started doing it with $1 a day. So let's look back at CNC, as I stated earlier. it is now a grandparent. If one of its graduates' children had started putting aside $1 a day and increased it to even $25 a day for the past 65 years since leaving CNC, they would have saved over $500,000 plus interest to support their retirement. Not bad. So those CNC children who are now looking at retirement would have no sleepless nights. Start a new habit today. Have a dream. We know the famous "I have a dream" speech. Well, that is good to start for looking at your financial goals and objectives. If you can dream it, you can achieve it. It is pretty obvious that if you don't know where you are going, you will never know how to get there. Many persons now seem to have given up on visualizing their future or dreaming about their future. And this is something I practice all the time. I envision where I am and where I want to be and set goals to achieve it. They believe that house and land and wealth are out of their reach. They do not believe that it is possible. If we believe that we can't, then we can't. It is as simple as that. I dream of having those things, and I believe that I could have them, and that belief propelled me to achieve them. What is it that you want, but you are afraid to dream of? Then you must worth having will invoke. I will invoke Genesis 3:19. And it says, "In the sweat of thy face shalt thou eat bread, till thy return unto the ground. In the sweat of thy face shalt thou eat bread, till thou return unto the ground." Now notice that I did not say that you work for two mornings and then you have bread for the rest of your life. It says, by the sweat of your face until you return to the ground. It's a continuous effort. Be prepared to work for what you want, to achieve your dreams. Some people work hard, some people work smart, and some people work hard and smart. But however you work, just be prepared to work. I've been working for about 40 years now. Some people can't stay in a job for 40 days. They focus too much on themselves and not their goals. So if their superior speaks to them about their work, they take offense and they're done with that. This is because they know that there is a bed and a plate of food waiting for them when they get home from walking off the job. I promise you I would remain practical and even personal if it would help anyone out there. Well, let's get personal. I asked my wife to marry me 30 years ago. I'm still so happy that she said yes. My wife said to me, "We are not going to rent. We will build a home." We were young professionals, now starting out, but we dared to believe that we could pay back a mortgage in 20 years. We not only believed, but we kept focused and worked together. And that's important, working together. Being easily offended was not an option, but having a plan was. So how do I prepare that plan? You know, the older folks would build a house and would say, I would add a room piece by piece until they finally got their lovely bungalow. They knew that Rome was not built in a day. They did not go to any university to figure that out. They just knew it. But they knew that you cannot spend more than you have. Today, we weave a web of debt around us and cannot breathe. Budgeting is simply planning for some future thing that we cannot afford right now, but doing so responsibly. I stress responsibly. For racking up high credit card bills and paying 25 to 28% in interest a year is not being responsible. Too often, we try to live beyond our means, and the credit card is for us the fast and easy way to finance the shortcoming our income below our expenses. So in budgeting, we want to achieve a couple of things. One, savings for the future purchase. Two, being able to cover our current expenses, be it fixed or variable. And three, going out to dinner occasionally, those discretionary expenditures we may want to do from time to time. Sounds easy enough, right? Wrong. We get these things out of order and out of proportion and end up in trouble. Let me explain. If you can get a piece of paper, and I should have asked you to do this before. If you can get a piece of paper and draw a line, and this is homework. Draw a line down the center, and on the right-hand side, make a heading that says income. And on the other side, put a heading that says expenses. Under the income heading, list down your salary, wages, rental income, business income, or any other source of income total totally at the bottom, and that is what you have to spend. So you list all your income, whatever it is, total it, and that is what is available to you to spend. Under the expense heading, list down all your payments and commitments. I want your number one item here to be what you want to save from your income. So be that $20 a week or $2,000 to meet your short to medium or long-term goal. So your first expense I want you to list is savings, or in other words, pay yourself. Then I want to list all the other expenses and or commitments. Tithes and offerings, light, water, grocery, medication, mortgage, rent, yes, the credit card payment in full, not a minimum payment. If you only pay the minimum amount, you will never get out of debt, because for the most part, that covers the interest and leaves the debt bill still owing. Not every bill that you have to pay in the current month or week. Not every bill, sorry, that you have to pay in the current month or week. Now total at the bottom. This is what you owe other people. And expenses come in different categories. As I mentioned before, there's fixed expenses, those expenses which remain the same every month, be it rent, mortgage payment. There are the variable expenses, like water. And then there are discretionary expenses, things that you spend money on that you don't necessarily need to spend money on, but is like a luxury item or pleasure item. The dinner, the eat out every now and then. Next, put in a line that says go out to dinner and put an amount in there. This is your discretionary spending, as I mentioned before. For I believe that you should be able to give yourself a little treat, even if it's just an ice cream cone hangout. Life should be balanced. Now, which column has a bigger balance at the bottom? If the income side is greater than the expense side, you're doing well. And we can start looking at putting that excess towards generational monetary wealth. If the expense side is bigger, then we must look to earn more or cut our expenses to fall in line with our income. We are living above our means, and this is not sustainable. Like in any situation, be it an individual, be it a household, be it a business, be it a country, you cannot spend more money than you're earning. This leads me to, I should say, if the expense side is bigger, just to recap, if the expense side is bigger, you're earning more and you need a cut. There's nothing left for generational monetary wealth, but all is not lost. We have a number of other ways we can leave generational wealth. This leads me to the last area I want to look at. This is generational wealth. We are required to be good men and women to leave something for our children and their children. You may say, I hardly got anything for myself, and these children have to fight like me for what they want. No, no, no. You have a responsibility to them to pass on something valuable to them. You must leave something behind. The more you think about your own financial life, the more you realize how important generational wealth can be. If you have kids or plan to have kids, then you may start to think about how their financial futures will play out. Imagine how differently things could turn out if you take the time to educate them on personal finance and set up vehicles to add security to their own financial future. Imagine how differently your life would have turned out if you were the beneficiary of generational wealth. How differently it has turned out because you are the beneficiary of generational wealth. It is estimated that 70% of the families lose their wealth in the second generation and 90% lose in the third generation. With statistics like that, it can seem pointless to save a legacy for wealth. However, in many cases, the loss of generational wealth can be prevented through financial education. After all, it is easy to lose generational wealth if your kids have no personal knowledge, no personal finance knowledge. That would be like asking your child to maintain a classic antique car after you pass away without teaching them any mechanical skills to deal with an eventual breakdown. In a similar way, if you teach your kids nothing about personal finance, then it's likely the wealth you leave for them will dwindle throughout their lifetime. If you are interested in passing on family wealth, then you likely have a fairly good understanding of personal finance. You must make it a priority to pass this knowledge down to your children. This knowledge will be the best way to build and protect generational wealth. So what is generational wealth? It is basically wealth that is passed down from one generation to the next. You may also hear this called family wealth or legacy wealth. If you are able to leave something behind for your children or grandchildren, then you are contributing to the growth of generational wealth in your family. Of course, you may leave many things such as good memories and healthy genetics behind for your family. However, I'm specifically referring to the financial resources that you're able to leave behind. This wealth can be done in many forms: real estate, stock market investments, or financial education to carry forward into the future. So why is generational wealth important? If you're starting from scratch with your finances, starting out with a large debt burden, then you should realize the importance of generational wealth. What if the parents you had the ability to fund your child's college education? This single action could have a tremendous effect on your financial future. Instead of playing catch up to pay down their student loan debt, you could be saving for their first home or their future retirement. As you continue your personal financial journey, you have likely discovered that it is not always easy to recover from financial mistakes. What if your parents had been able to offer solid financial guidance as you stumbled your way through? It could have prevented spending beyond beyond your means or start you on a budgeting habit much sooner. The more you think about your own financial life, the more you realize how important generational wealth can be. If you have kids or plan to have kids, then you may start to think about how their financial futures will play out. Imagine how differently things could turn out if you take the time to educate them on personal finance and set up vehicles to add security to their financial future. So how to build generational wealth? The concept of building generational wealth is easy. You simply have to acquire assets or save cash that you don't intend to spend on retirement. Then you pass those assets along to your children when you pass away. This sounds easy in concept, but can be difficult to put into practice. If you're struggling to build your savings, then saving for the next generation can sound overwhelming. And that is completely understandable. It is critically important to nail down your own retirement savings plan and other financial goals before you start to save for generational wealth. Once you have a handle on your current finances to fund your golden years, then it's time to start saving beyond that. How should you start to save for generational wealth? Here are some of the best ways to start preparing or leave a legacy of wealth behind for your children and grandchildren. Number one, invest in the stock market. The stock market can be a great way to build wealth over the long term. If you're aiming to build generational wealth, then it's a great option because it has potential to continue growing for decades. Investing in the stock market may sound scary if you never tried it. However, it is an important way to build wealth in your lifetime and beyond. 2, invest in real estate. Real estate Invest in real estate. Real estate is another way to build wealth for the long term, with the potential for steady cash flows, in addition to increasing values over time. Real estate can be a reliable path. To creating wealth for yourself and your family. The idea of building a real estate empire can be intimidating, but it doesn't have to be. You may have already waded into the world of real estate through the purchase of your first home. If you continue to buy properties one at a time throughout your life, then you might be surprised at how quickly your real estate portfolio can grow. Consider it as an option to build wealth for your children. Build a business to pass down. Family businesses have the potential for great success. More than 30% of family-owned businesses transition to a second generation. Imagine being able to hand over the keys of a successful business to your children. Although not all family businesses make it to the second generation, it is possible that yours can. If your interests and abilities align with your children's, then it is very possible they will want to take over the business you built. For a great chance of successful transition, you should include your child in the business from a young age. They need to know how the business operates and to successfully continue in this business. Don't expect them to take it over if they show no interest in the business you've built. If you're unable to, or if they are unwilling or unable to take over the operation, you could consider selling the business to fund generational wealth in another way. Number 4, take advantage of life insurance. Life insurance provides the opportunity to protect family in the event of your untimely death. Without your income, your children might be forced into less than ideal financial circumstances. If you made the effort to invest in life insurance now, then it could prevent financial tragedy for your children. Plus, they would always have enough to cope with it. Cope with if they lose you. My wife always tells me the story. When she first got an insurance plan, she couldn't afford the premiums at the time. But she said, I will not be always working at this for this type of salary. I'll be earning more. And if she had to pay for that same insurance premium, that same insurance policy, a few years down the line, at an older age, the premiums will be even more prohibitive. So life insurance is important. If you aren't sure what life insurance coverage, what life insurance coverage should look like for your family, find out more about your life insurance. Find out more about life insurance and how you can use this financial tool to safeguard your family for their financial future. Number 5, invest in your child's education. In many cases, education can provide a way for your children to support themselves. With a college degree, many frequently have the opportunity to pursue higher paying jobs that can help them navigate their own finances. It's no guarantee, but it's a start. Anyone with an education will always have that education. All the other things in life can come and go. No one can take away your education. If you have the ability to help your children make it through college without any debt, then you are helping to set them up for a brighter financial future than many of their peers. Imagine the amount of financial pressure you'll be able to lift from your children's shoulders with the ability to pay for their education. Teach your children, number 6, teach your children about personal finance. It is estimated that 70% of families lose their wealth in the second generation and 90% in the third. I mentioned that previously. With statistics like that, it can seem pointless to save for a legacy of wealth. However, in many cases, the loss of generational wealth can be prevented through financial education. After all, it's easy to lose generational wealth if your kids have no personal finance knowledge. That would be like, as I said before, asking your child to maintain a classic antique car after you pass away without teaching them any mechanical skills. It's likely that car would eventually break down. In a similar way, if you teach your kids nothing about personal finance, it is likely that the wealth that you leave for them will dwindle throughout their lifetime. Since you are interested in passing family wealth, you likely have a fairly good understanding of personal finance. Make it a priority to pass this knowledge down to your kids. The knowledge will be the best way to build and protect generational wealth. There are many ways to broach the topic of money with your kids. You can buy children's books about money, teach them through games, or show them by allowing them to listen as you talk through financial decisions. You can even help them to set up their own bank accounts from a young age to instill the importance of saving for the future. All these things I mentioned before are things I personally practice. Insurance, educating my child, real estate, all these things we do. Investing in the stock market, these are things, and educating our child, these are things that my wife and I, we've been practicing for years. I know many times when we discuss financial matters, from young, my daughter was right there listening to what we were saying. And even now, in our own business, she's right there understanding what is going on, the impact of doing certain things, of making certain decisions, of making certain taking certain financial transactions. So how to pass on generational wealth? After building the assets, you need to create a plan to pass them along to the next generation. Here is what you will need to do to ensure a smooth ride for your assets as they transition to the next generation. First, create an estate plan. An estate plan is absolutely essential to securing an easy transition of your assets. The larger your estate, the more complicated this plan will become. At any stage, I would recommend consulting an attorney about how to create your own estate plan or the family's estate plan. This plan will vary widely based on your goals and the types of assets you have. With the expertise of the legal profession, you can craft a plan that will allow for your assets to move through to your kids with minimal headaches. 2, write a will. Sometimes people are reluctant to write a will because it seems like they're saying, well, they don't want to face the fact that sooner or later they will pass. But we all have to go that way. A will may be included in your estate plan, but it's important to create one even if you don't have an estate plan. The will should include your exact wishes. The more specific you can be about your plans for any assets you have accumulated, the better. Be specific. Let people know exactly what you want. Without a will, it's not uncommon for things to get ugly between surviving family members. Emotions are high because they've already lost you. You can prevent a lot of ugliness and financial trauma with clear guidance and guidelines in your will. Set up custodial accounts is another thing I want to mention. Custodial accounts are important vehicles for any financial legacy that you hope to build. Custodial accounts are investment accounts. Sorry, I lost my presentation. Let me just get it back here. Right. Custodial accounts are important vehicles for any financial legacy that you hope to build. Custodian accounts are investment accounts that you can control for your children until they are no longer minors. In most places, they receive control at the age of 18, but in some places you can carry as far as 21. You can find these accounts. You can fund these accounts for your children for future financial goals, such as paying for university education or buying their first home. However, they may have to pay taxes on this money when they withdraw it. Name beneficiaries for your accounts. A simple way to ensure that your accounts pass easily to the next generation is to name them as beneficiaries on your accounts. In most accounts, you can name a beneficiary. If you were to pass away, the beneficiary would receive the funds with minimal effort. It may only take a few minutes to add your intended beneficiary to your account, but it can save countless hours for your family later on. So I conclude, building wealth to last for generations is no easy feat, but it's an admirable undertaking. After you have your own financial situation under control, safeguarding your family future is the next step. Take the time to implement wealth building strategies that work for your family. Not everyone wants to invest in real estate or build a business, so find something that works for your situation. Whatever strategy you choose, make sure to pass down your financial know-how to your children. Armed with the personal finance knowledge, you can provide your kids with the will already to be one step ahead of the game as they make their way into the world. Thank you.
Thank you very, very much, Mr. Yar, for that comprehensive bit of information that you would have just shared with us as it relates to generational wealth. I did take some notes as you were speaking. For the save $1 a day, start a new habit, have a dream, set a goal, invest in the stock market, invest in real estate. And as you were speaking, I thought of the church. And one of the things I must confess is when I was much younger, growing up in the church, one of the things that we were taught is to always just prepare for heaven. I was told that we are going to walk on streets of gold, and the portion of scripture that was most commonly used is the one that speaks about storing up things down here. And I think that this kind of information, had it been afforded several other persons years ago, a lot of us would have been in a better financial position, because the church has to understand that whilst we are down here, the Bible says occupy. And too many of us as Christians has never really thought of our financial, putting financial positions in place. What has happened from my perspective is that you have a lot of church jealousy. Somebody in the church who seem to have been blessed and is prosperous, other persons think that they are too worthy. You've got too much money, it's too worthy. And so therefore, as a church, I think that this kind of information is of paramount importance to us, to help to shape our life and to help shape our thinking. Because I believe that if you do not have something to look forward to, especially in your retirement, then you're going to blame God and blame everybody else. I will never forget an elderly gentleman told me one time, only way you should take something out of a refrigerator is if you put in something. And I understood quite well what he meant with that. You take something out of the refrigerator when you put in something. Now, I've got a question for you, Mr. Yard, and this is coming from one of my colleagues in Trinidad, Mr. Dexter Daly. And he's asking the question, or rather stating, credit cards is an increasing new phenomenon in this age. What advice would you offer in handling this facility?
Well, as indicated, is an increasing trend, and it comes down to the fact people use credit cards as convenience. They may want to buy something now. They might not have the necessary cash to do it, and they utilize a credit card to make up the shortcoming. It goes back to the fact that you need to budget and make sure that you're spending less money than you're earning. But if you're using a credit card, you have to make sure that you pay the credit card payments when they're due. How financial institutions make money from you is by you not paying on a timely basis. So if you are using credit cards, make sure that you pay them. You pay them when they're due. And only purchase.
Thank you very much.
No, hold on. And only purchase up to what you can afford to pay. That's quite simple. So you use it like cash. You don't spend more than you have, and you pay them promptly and do not incur any of the interest charges, because that's credit card financing is expensive financing. As I said earlier, you can end up paying 25 to 28% on credit card charges. So avoid it at all costs. And if you find yourself in credit card debt, you pay it off. I use a credit card, but I make sure I clear my debt on a monthly basis. I'm upset when I have to pay the bank interest for the use of their card. There's some situations where you must use a credit card if you're buying stuff overseas, if you travel and you're booking a hotel, your flights, etc. But avoid it. Only use what you can pay. I find another great alternative is using a Visa debit card, where you're spending your own money and not using the financial institution's money. And that is a good alternative, particularly if you need to use a credit card to make certain payments.
Thank you very much, Mr. I believe you did. I hope you did. I should inform you that one of persons online wants to add another credential to all those that you have already had behind your name, and the person is in an excellent presentation. And thank you, Reverend Yard. That's why he said the person wants to add something on, another credential onto you. I'm having a question here. Any wealth building ideas for the church? What would you suggest that can be wealth building ideas for the church?
Well, as I mentioned before in my presentation, managing your finances is like for everybody. It's like managing your own personal finances, making sure you spend less money than you're earning, and finding the various types of investment opportunities that are available to you there. I always say for a church, depending on their cash requirements on an ongoing basis, there are various types of assets. You can have cash in the bank on a fixed deposit or fixed income type instrument, various credit union instruments, various bank instruments. You can invest in government paper. You can invest in the stock market. If you have long-term time horizons, you look at what is being offered in the marketplace depending on your time horizon. I always tell people when you're investing, there's three things you must consider. You must consider what your objective is. What are you trying to achieve? What your time horizon is? How long do you have to achieve that objective, and how long you want to put the money there to build up over time? And what is your risk tolerance? How much risk as an individual, as an institution, as a church, you're willing to take on in the types of investment. Now, if you're investing monies that you're collecting as it relates to tithes and offerings, you will want to be as conservative as you can, because you cannot, I don't believe prudently you should take the tithes and offerings that people work hard for to contribute to the work of God, and then you speculate on those investments. So cash or near cash investments might be the best types of investments for the church. If for example, the church has the opportunity to invest, have enough capital to invest in real estate, that is also another good option. I think I've answered.
Thank you very much. I hope that answered the question. I have another question from Lewin, and he's asking what facilities are there in Barbados to invest in the stock market, not only locally, but internationally?
Well, to invest locally, you need to approach one of the brokers in the marketplace. Right now, there are currently 8 brokers in the marketplace who can trade on your behalf on the stock exchange. And I should explain, exactly what the stock exchange is. The stock exchange basically provides a listing and trading platform for companies. The listing allows companies to list their shares so that people could buy in and sell it, trade their shares, buy or sell their shares. And the brokers provide is the conduit through which individuals go to facilitate trading on the exchange. So you need to develop a relationship with the brokers, and you can go to, and I hope this doesn't be considered as blatant selling of services, but you can go to the website of the Barbados Stock Exchange, www.bsc.com.bb, look for the tab that indicates brokers, and choose a broker. And you might find out the brokers, you might already have a relationship with them, because they are mainly financial institutions. For example, Sagicor Asset Management Inc., First Caribbean, Capita, Fortress. There are a number of them. So if you already have a relationship with one of them, you go to them and tell them what you intend to do. You can go to the website of the stock exchange and see the companies listed and make a determination of how you want to invest. But the brokers are there to advise you and guide you through the process. As it relates to international investment, we know that Barbados is a exchange controlled jurisdiction. So permission to invest outside of Barbados must be sought through the Central Bank of Barbados. I know people find ways to do it, but as an exchange controlled jurisdiction, you need to seek permission from the Central Bank to trade or invest in securities outside of Barbados.
Thank you very much, Mr. Yard.
Well, you can call me Marlon.
No, okay. How risky is forex trading, and are there facilities for such trading in Barbados?
Now, I always have a rule of thumb. If I'm going to invest in anything, I always want to know who regulates those particular securities. There's no forex trading market in Barbados, and the reason I say I want to know who regulates them, because if something goes wrong, if something goes amiss, who are you going to turn to for recourse? So my approach to these things is, if you don't know who the regulator is, or if you can't go to the regulator and seek recourse if things doesn't go right, I would avoid these things. People come to me, mention these things to me all the time, and I says, it's not something I get involved with, because I don't believe in speculating at that level. I don't know who is regulating these people, and I'm not going to get involved. When you invest, or when you are part of any investment here in Barbados, there is a regulator. For the securities market, the stock exchange is the Financial Services Commission. If you have insurance funds or pension funds, again, it's the Financial Services Commission. If you are investing in, if you have accounts at the bank, or there's issues with your financial bank or financial institution, there's the Central Bank of Barbados. So there's in Barbados, for the securities that are being offered here, there are regulators in place to make sure that these financial institutions are run prudently, that they follow the rules and regulations, that they follow the legislation. And my advice always is, if you can't go to a regulator here in Barbados, I would avoid it. Some people say that they do well in these things, but I am not. Me personally, I'm not prepared to take on that level of risk.
Thank you very much. I have been authorized by Mr. Yard to call him Marlon, so I would so do. Charmaine has had her hands raised. I believe she's got a question to ask. I would ask Charmaine to ask the question at this time.
Thank you, Pastor. I just want to thank Mr. Yard for his interesting presentation. And it wasn't what I was expecting. I think it exceeded what I was expecting, because we grew up in a society where we saw what we used to call old money. We saw people with old money, and we saw how their children and their children's children will have gone through. And for us, every generation had to start from scratch. And each generation said, you have to fend for yourself. Every man got to fend for himself. So that's why I appreciate this, because it shows me that, as you said, if I had the start, if I had old money, as people would say, you know the concept old money and new money. If I had the start with a generational inheritance, I can imagine what more I could have done. So I really appreciate the fact that even as we look to be successful for ourselves, that God through his word has said to us, take a little bit, don't overemphasize yourself. Don't get too consumed with yourself, to actually put aside a little bit for your children's children. So that is why I really appreciated this presentation. And I intend now to do more. And I think too that as a body of Christ, when we start to look at children's children, I think we also have an obligation to the children that God has given us within the kingdom. Like we have CNC here, and there's a generation that came out of there that we owe them an inheritance. And I think that's probably what Pastor Seal is communicating to us this evening too, indirectly. There is a third generation, as Marlon said, and how are we going to invest in this third generation to make sure that all that went before isn't lost? Are we prepared to also make that investment in a third generation of the CNC? So I really appreciate the presentation that you made, Marlon.
That was the whole idea. I struggled with coming up with a presentation. I could have been very technical and gone through all the different types of securities and the different types of rates and that kind of thing. I said, but for the most part, we tend to know these things. You know, people, we are more savvy, you know, than we were a few years ago. But my thing is, I have, all of us as a society are standing on somebody else's shoulder somewhere down the line. And we've benefited from what other people has done for us as a society, as a church. We benefit, you know, we sit down in a church and we enjoy it and we say, oh, this is really wonderful. But somebody who, we might be sitting in a nice wood building, but I mean, wall building with the ACs running and everything. But somebody would have been sitting in a church before that had creaky floors, side partitions that wasn't too strong. And over the years, they would have built up the church to what we are enjoying now. And it's the same token. We cannot live and think for ourselves only. We need to think about other people and what we can do. You know, children have to generally earn their way, and you as parents need to guide them in that direction. But at the same time, if you can help them along the way, you help them along the way. And that is what I was trying to bring forth in the presentation this week. But it was a struggle trying to go in the direction. But as somebody says, sometimes you just let God work through you.
Thank you very much, Marlon and Charmaine, for that interesting intercourse. I should also suggest to you, Marlon, that Timothy Spencer, he says that you have really given to him some great nuggets. We've got Mr. Lewin. He has got a follow-up question. I would allow him to ask his question at this time, Mr. Yar. Okay, he's not on it yet. The question is asked, how lucrative is Bitcoin, and should we consider this opportunity?
How lucrative is what? I didn't hear. Bitcoin.
Bitcoin, yes.
Now, this is something I've been studying for some time, and it's something that we at the stock exchange have been looking at. And when you think of Bitcoin, I like to liken it to an inverted triangle. You got this small base at the bottom and all this value up there. But what supports or what is the value? What is the underlying base that's supporting all this value up there? And is it just, for lack of a better word, a bubble? The proponents of Bitcoin would say it's a good thing, and you find that things happen in the marketplace that seem to allow the value to skyrocket. I mean, I think around the end of December, Bitcoin valuations was like $40,000 a Bitcoin. Then it kind of tapered off again, dropping. I'm not sure where it is at this point in time. So there's wild swings, ups and downs in the value of Bitcoin. And my question always is, what is the underlying value? What really supports these inflations and movements in prices as time goes on? And as I said before, I'm not speculative in nature, so I'm not sure. So if I'm not sure, I watch and see what happens. And for me, it's an academic exercise to try to understand what is driving these movements. Now, at the stock exchange, we are not interested in cryptocurrencies, or as I say, Bitcoin. Our interest is in the technology, blockchain technology that drives, that's the engine or the framework or infrastructure for Bitcoin, for the Bitcoin. And this blockchain technology allows us to develop different types of assets. And in this case, we are calling them digital assets. And these digital assets can come in the form of securities, equity securities, or any type of securities. So that is where our interest in is using the blockchain technology that allows securities to be able to be traded on an exchange. So that is where our interest is, as opposed to the actual Bitcoin currency, the Bitcoin, because again, we're not sure, I am not sure personally what is the underlying asset, where the underlying value comes from. I hope I've made it, you understand what I'm saying.
Okay. Question. With so much economic uncertainty globally, is it wise to invest in the stock market at this time?
Well, again, like everything else, you choose. Not every business is suffering because of the economic uncertainty because brought home by this pandemic. There are some businesses that are doing, or some industries that are doing very well. For example, if you're in a big pharma business making vaccines, etc., you know, these people are making money. If you're, for example, if you look around Barbados and see what businesses are making money, you know, the food distributors, etc. So in some instances, some businesses are doing well and some businesses are suffering. And there's always opportunity in the marketplace to make money. Now, when you invest in securities or stocks, I always say you always invest for the long term. 3 to 5 years is medium term, but the long term is 10 to 15 years. You can make money in the short to medium term, but you should always look to the long term. And in the long term, the trend is always in an upward direction. You know, the trajectory is always up. There might be fluctuations along the way, but even though there might be fluctuations, there is trending upwards. So historically, the capital markets, stock markets have done well long term, and it's a good part of your portfolio. What I should also say is that when you invest in when you're investing, you should, you know, as the old adage says, don't put all your eggs in one basket. So you might invest in the stock market, in securities listed on the stock market, while you invest in other instruments, stock market, real estate, fixed income, insurance. You put your money in different things so that it's highly unlikely that everything will go south at the same time. So you invest within an asset class, but you also invest. So if you're investing in fixed income, you diversify, you take different pieces. If you're investing in the stock market, you invest in different stocks. So you invest within an asset class, but you invest also across asset classes. So you diversify specifically in the asset class, but you invest in other types of asset classes to hedge against something going wrong in another asset class. So it can be argued that you can put in the Forex, but make sure you have other things there to protect you, or cryptocurrencies, but make sure you have other things to protect you as well, depending on where you're at in your investment cycle. If you're a young person, you have time on your side, so you can take greater risks. But if you're an older person, you want to be less, you tend to be more risk averse, and you want to invest in things that are pretty steady and consistent over the period of time that you have to invest in.
Thank you very much. So nice having you, Brother Patrick Alfred, out of Canada, with us tonight online. Go straight ahead and ask Marlon your question.
Well, my question is more to compliment my brother on such a comprehensive presentation. And I just want to let you know that here in Canada, you studied in Canada, so you know most of what goes on here. Everything that you have presented tonight exists in Canada. So I want to encourage all on the Zoom tonight that my brother has made some very intellectual and very comprehensive practical tips and presentations for all of us. Now, I will not want to share my experience with you because I'm in a very different situation than those in Barbados or in the Caribbean. But most of what and everything that Marlon, my brother, has described for us, really, we should all think about very seriously. Now, I just want to share one thing with you that a very good brother in Christ in Barbados has shared with me, and that is, and I'll give you his name because he's a brother in Christ and he's a businessman in Barbados. His name is Mr. Tani, and most of you in Barbados will know Mr. Tani. And the one element that I would like to add to my brother Marlon's presentation is, and that is what Mr. Tani has shared with me, is that we all need to work towards simplification of life. And that is easy said and done. Mr. Tani is the first that will tell you he struggles with it. He needs to get to that point of simplification. And but when you sit and think about simplification, everything that Brother Marlon shared with us tonight, take all of those and take it towards simplification, especially the question about credit cards. We needed to understand that we need to live a simple, humble, godly life. And we will experience the blessings of God. And the monetary side eventually will happen. Our children will come to inherit not liabilities, but assets from us. So I want to thank you all for giving me the opportunity to share with you tonight and to be on this. And thank you again, my brother Marlon. You are brilliant and you've done a wonderful presentation.
Thank you.
Thank you, my friend and brother in Christ, Patrick.
Can I ask a question?
Padmore. Go straight ahead.
Yes. Good evening again. This is Dexter Daly.
Hi, Dexter.
Even
How are
as
you?
yes, I'm doing fine. Even as we speak of wealth, building and so on, and I think someone did mention the context of the college. I'm thinking how can we consider bequeathing wealth to the college? How can we get people to consider something like that in terms of, even in our insurance policies and so on? How can we get people to do that as a part of investing in the college?
I don't know if that's a question directly. I would not speak against something like that. It always depends on people's goals and what they want to achieve, and if for them that is something they want to do. But there's a old saying: the more you give, the more it comes back to you. Pressed down, shaken down, and running over. And not that you give because you want to get, but it's just a principle of life, a rule of the, for better, rule of the universe, that this is what happens. So I would never object to people giving any sorts of part of their wealth to any worthy cause, including CNC. It's just a matter of people being aware of the ability to do so, being comfortable that is going to a worthy cause, and that the assets or the monies being given would be managed in a professional and prudent way. I don't know if that answers or that comment makes a difference to what you're asking.
Okay, thank you. There's a question from my sister in Trinidad, Jennifer Leach. I think you may have dealt with it already. And she's asking from Facebook, what is your view of the Forex companies that are now popular? I suspect that you would probably have dealt with that.
I did answer that before. But again, as I said,
before I benefit, I don't know if you would just want to give a few remarks.
Yeah, I just want to say that I always want to be involved in things that are regulated by persons in the market, in market that I'm in. And I would have highlighted the fact that Forex businesses or companies are not licensed or regulated by any regulator in Barbados. And if something goes wrong, I have no recourse to recover funds or make sure that who did me wrong are accountable for the wrongdoing that they would have done against me. I've heard people extol the benefits of it, but I've also heard people say it didn't work for them too as well, and they were not happy. So regulation is key.
Somebody is suggesting to us that, sorry, somebody saying that Bitcoin is now currently $30 US. The question is coming from Dr. Orlando C., our president. How do we encourage a greater level of personal risk tolerance in an effort to develop a mindset of investment?
Well, the thing is, it depends on the assets that you are investing in. Not all investments are risky. They can be. Again, it depends on how they're managed and who manages them and the nature of the marketplace. But I would always say you diversify your asset portfolio to make sure that things tend to balance out one another, and that is how you look at things. Now, the only way people can gain more comfort or be less risk averse is if they something is like riding a bike. You might fall a few times, but as you practice and you continue to develop your skills, you find that it works for you and you become more tolerant. Knowledge is key. Educate yourself about something, and you would find more that as time goes on, you would want to get more involved. And as you learn more about something, you learn about all the implications of what you're doing, you will get more attuned to what risk, presumably more risk. But people see things as risky because they don't know or they don't understand. And if they educate themselves about something, they will see that this is not as risky as they may have perceived it to be. Or Reverend Seal, I hope I've answered your question. Thank you for the question, Donald.
Okay, we are coming very close to 9 o'clock, and of course, Marlon had been speaking for some time, so we just got a few more minutes before we wrap this session up. But Mr. Carmen Padmore is asking question. I'm already in deep debt. I need to get out now. I find that I can borrow and pay back, but never save for the item. I cannot get it saved, and she's asking if she's from Mary to think that way.
Yeah, well, the thing is, you sometimes you gotta forego immediate satisfaction in getting something for a more long-term aspirational view. In other words, don't seek immediate gratification. Take your time and achieve what you want with patient budgeting and saving towards that particular goal. That could be the only way. And I find that the key to this thing is setting a goal, developing a plan, working a budget, and as you make minor victories along the way, and as they grow, you gain more confidence to achieve what you want to do. I mean, this is part of the course of what you have to do at work. Every year you go through the process of developing a business plan, setting objectives, and then you build a budget to achieve those objectives, and then you have a board of directors who make sure that you stick to what you say you're going to do. And if you're not sticking to it, they demand or require an explanation, and you better have a good reason for not achieving the objectives and achieving the goals. You be your own board and your own board of directors, making yourself accountable or having somebody in the household accountable. And that's why I remember I mentioned in the presentation how people have to work together. Husbands and wives have to work together to achieve a particular goal. And if you are you find that when you're accountable to somebody, you tend to do better. If you're not accountable to anybody, you do as you like, unless you're an extremely disciplined person. So the best way to get yourself out of debt is identify what your total debt picture is. You say, well, I have a goal of getting out of debt, and you set a timeline, a milestone. I want to get out of debt by such and such a date. And you say, for me to achieve this, I will need to pay this certain amount of money each month until I clear the debt. And meanwhile, not building up any other debt. And at the same time, making sure that you're monitoring yourself as you go along and achieving your goal. I remember when we cleared off our mortgage for our home, coming down to the last year, my wife would be very excited seeing the balance coming down because you're gaining victories. But that last year didn't happen by itself. This happened after about 19 years of doing the same thing. So you need to be disciplined in your approach, and you would reap the benefit. Delay, don't look for immediate gratification. Look for the satisfaction and victory of achieving your particular goal. So you set your goal, you make a plan, and you work your plan and keep yourself accountable to that plan. I hope I helped you in that regard.
Okay, thank you very much, Marlon. This is the final question for this tonight, rather. Is the blessing circle illegal? I really never heard about that before. Maybe you have.
I don't know. Somebody would have to explain that to me. I'm not aware of it. It's something I would have to check and research now. But I would check on it, and probably you and I can talk at some point. Yeah. Sorry, I can't answer that question. Some homework on it.
Yeah. I did say that was the last question, but Lorraine had a question previous to that. He's asking, how would you advise for a first-time investment in the real estate, and how do you go about it?
Well, let me caveat by saying I'm no expert in the area. I can only talk from my own personal experience. You identify a particular asset you want to achieve, commercial building, house, apartments, whatever. You know what savings you have in place already to purchase the particular asset. You know what financing you require. You negotiate hard as it relates to financing the particular project or asset that you want to acquire. And you obviously know in your mind, you've set a goal in your mind, and you know that you can achieve this particular asset, and you make the arrangements to do so. So it's first making sure you have the resources to do so, that you have the financing available to make up the shortfall in cost of the asset, what you have, capital you have, and you find the financing to do it. The most cost-effective financing available to you, that is making sure that you're getting a good interest rate for the fundings that you're buying, and you proceed with the asset. And obviously, you have to identify the particular asset beforehand.
Thank you very much, Marlon. We have come to the end of tonight's proceeding. It has been a joy facilitating the proceedings tonight. Thanks to all of you who were on for all 3 nights. Thanks to you for your questions. Thanks to you for the interest that would have been shown. The honor now is given to my friend and colleague out of the Trinidad State of Trinidad and Tobago, Reverend Angel Isaac, Executive Coordinator at CNC. She will be giving the vote of thanks.
Thank you, Dr. Elcock. And vote of thanks, I want to say thank you to Mr. Marlon Yard, the Managing Director of the Barbados Stock Exchange, Inc. Tonight, you have allowed God to work through you. and we are very much better informed as it relates to money management and building generational wealth. We, as African Caribbean people, have been maybe careless in this area of building wealth. Some of us did not get old money, but we are grateful tonight. God has sent you to tell us tonight we can start a new habit and save $1 a day. You have opened our eyes and we are grateful. And even as we hear words like Bitcoin, cryptocurrency, and what's the other one? Um, Blessing Circle, and so on, we are praying, I am praying, that this topic will be a constant on our church agenda. So our goal as we go forward is to build on the foundation that you have given us, and we want to say thank you very much. May God bless you richly. May God bless your family, and may God bless us as the Church of the Nazarene and the people of God. Amen. Amen. We have come to the end, as Dr. Sam says. And Dr. Sam, do you want me to say more, or that's it? That's it.
It's all up to you, my sister. If you have got
We
some
want
more
to
things you
thank
want to share, I am more than well to.
we want to thank all of you, faithful CNCers. We are all CNCers this evening. Dear sons and daughters of Caribbean Mother CNC. We want to thank all of you for joining us over the leadership conference, which took place over the last 3 days. And we want to encourage you to stay with us this entire year. We are not through. There's a lot coming up, which our president and Dr. Sam may want to talk about again. The president may want to give you further announcement. So we say thank you, thank you. Thank you for being with us. Thank you for staying the course and the support received over the years. And somebody made such a profound point about children investing and all those kinds of things. I'm sitting there and I'm just saying, way to go, way to go. So God bless you all, and I'm turning back over to Dr. Sam. Let Dr. Seal take it from there.
Mr. President, I think it would be remiss of me if I could then turn over to you for any final comments.
Yes, thank you, Dr. Sam, for a fine job in moderating. I want to reiterate my personal thanks and appreciation to Brother Marlon for accepting the responsibility of sharing with us tonight. Thank you for an excellent presentation, very informative. And I wanted to thank Charmaine for doing that pivot from speaking of our biological generation to speak of investing in a generation of students at CNC. Our account numbers are on our website, www.cnc.edu. And we also have a Nazarene Foundation that's in the global church where funds are invested there that could come to the school. And very shortly, we're going to be launching a CNC Foundation proposed by our administrative council to our board of trustees, already approved. And the management of the fund, the foundation, is going to be shared between the administrative council and the board of trustees to ensure the integrity of the fund. But the board of trustees has expressed a very strong desire to see us turn around the financial fortunes of the school. And we want all hands on deck. As I said on Sunday evening, we really want everybody to be involved. Some persons can make a one-off gift, some persons can make a monthly pledge, etc. But we want everybody involved if indeed we're going to rise again and reach our full potential as a school. In terms of events, the next scheduled event really is April 11th. That's going to be a virtual concert, but it is very likely that before we reach April 11th, we will have a special youth night, because the youth night should have been a part of this weekend, but that was not realized. And I believe that those concerned will want to do so perhaps sometime in latter part of February, early March. So keep your ears to the ground, but the activities continue. I want to say thank you again for the support over these nights. Do you have the final word, Ange?
Yeah, Doc, you go straight ahead and wrap up
That's the
everything.
final word. So thank you again. May God continue to bless you and keep you. Let his face shine upon you and be gracious unto you both now and forevermore. Go and apply some of the principles that have been taught over these evenings, and especially this evening, apply some of the principles and stay safe in this COVID environment. God bless you abundantly and have a pleasant night.
Good night.
Good night,
night,
everyone.
All right,
everyone.
good.
Very much.
Good night, everybody.
Good
God
night.
bless you.
Good night,
Patrick,
everybody.
have a good night in Canada.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I enjoyed the
Enjoy.
presentation.
Nice to meet you, my brother.
Nice having you with us. Okay.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Sister Angel, make sure you secure some doubles because we're not getting any.
You broke up there for a second.
But I'm saying to my colleague in Trinidad that she needs to keep some doubles for us. Barbados, we usually get our doubles and busted shot and those things in January, but she ensured that the borders were closed that we can't get any.
Well, somebody in Barbados could make you some bus-up shot and doubles.
No, they saving it there for them when they come.
But I don't want it from Barbados. It means they can't leave. And want
Yeah.
to get it.
You get
They'll
the
be
local.
waiting for you.
You get the local
Yes.
version.
Yeah, it's right
Okay,
there waiting for you.
Okay. Good night.
Okay.
Okay,
Yes, God bless
have a
you.
good night,
Yes.
everybody.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye all.
Take care.